For this skirt, I use 100% mercerized cotton yarn and a 4mm hook. So you want to start with a foundation chain that is a multiple of 5 plus 2. So in my case, I have 102 chains. This has been measured around my waist so that it sits where I want it to sit once I put it around. In my case, since I'm using mercerized cotton, I'm also taking into consideration the fact that it's going to stretch out a bit. So once you do row 1, if it's too big or too small, go back again and remove or add stitches or chains, however you need, in the multiple of 5 plus 2. So for row 1, you want to skip 3 chains. The loop on your hook does not count. You're going to skip the first one, second, and third. And into the fourth, you're going to do a double crochet. So for a double crochet, you yarn over and you're going to go into the chain, grab the yarn and pull it through. You're going to have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So if you need to watch that a few times to understand the stitch, feel free to go back now. And you're going to do 1 double crochet into each of the chains until the end of the row. So I'm just going to show you a few times. Yarn over, push the hook through, pull. 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And continue this until the end of the row. And I will see you when we're there. I'm at the end of row 1 here, and I've done a double crochet into each of the chains of the foundation chain. And what I want to point out is that the chain 3 that you skipped at the very beginning of the row is your first double crochet. So in my case, at the end of row 1, I have 100 stitches. Now for row 2, you want to start with a chain 3 and flip your work. So we're going to work a wide double crochet. And that's quite easy. Essentially, for a normal double crochet, you would go at the top of the stitch. But for a wide double crochet, you're going to go in between the pillars of the double crochets of the previous row. So it's quite easy to do because you're just going to go in the gaps in between. So it's even faster to see and to work into. So I'll show you. The very first one, you're going to do into the first 2 double crochets. So you're going to yarn over and go into the gap between the pillars of the double crochets. Grab the yarn and just do a double crochet like normal. And this is how you're going to begin every row. So now you're going to do this into each stitch all the way across, doing a wide double crochet. I have a tutorial on how to do this stitch as well that I'm going to leave linked in the description. But it's quite simple. You just essentially go into the gaps with a double crochet. And this is what it looks like. So now you want to repeat this until the end of the row, and I will see you there. All right, so at the end of row 2, I just want to show you. You're going to do your second to last one like you have between the double crochets. And now you're going to be left with the turning chain. So you're going to do very last double crochet in between the double crochet and the turning chain from the previous row to finish row 2. And now you want to repeat row 2 until you have a piece that measures 10 centimeters or around 4 inches. And I will see you when we're there to show you the next row. So something important to note is that because you're making this piece made to measure, you want to make sure that you're measuring it against your body as you go. You might need the increase sooner or later, and that's okay, as long as you follow the general rule of that quick little math of dividing how many gaps you have in the row by 5, because you want 5 increases total. So I just finished my row 11, and now my piece measures 4 inches. And so now it's time to do an increase. Now, it depends on how many stitches you have, but this is going to be how you're going to do your row of increases. In my case, I have 100 stitches, but since I'm doing wide double crochets, I go into the spaces between the double crochets, right? So if you count those, you should have 2 less gaps than stitches, meaning since I have 100 stitches, I only have 98 gaps. If you had, I don't know, 115 stitches, you will have 113 gaps, and so on. So now we want to divide that number, in my case it's 98, the number of gaps we have in between the stitches, by 5, because you want to do 5 increases in the next row. In my case, if I divide 98 by 5, I get 19.6. So it's not an exact number, but it's just going to be a guide. So essentially every 19 gaps, I'm going to put a stitch marker, and that's where I'm going to do my increase. It's not going to be perfect because of the 0.6. I'm going to have a few gaps left, I believe, but that's okay. It's not going to be very evident. So what you want to do is once you have that number of gaps that you're going to do your increase into, you're going to count the gap itself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. My number is going to be just 19. So in the 19th gap, I'm going to do an increase. And now I'm going to do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's my 9th gap from the previous stitch marker. So that gets another stitch marker. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I'm almost done here. I want to show you how many stitches I have left that are kind of like off, but it's okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now my last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so that is going to be my 5th stitch marker into the gaps, and I'm left with, let me see, 1, 2, 3 gaps. And that's okay because yeah, it's not a perfect number. But essentially I just want to make sure that I do 5 increases into this row. So now I have 5 stitch markers, and anytime I hit one of those stitch markers, I'm going to do an increase. So my next row, I'm going to start with a chain 3 and flip my work. I'm going to just do like I normally have been. So just a wide double crochet into each of the gaps. So until you get to the stitch marker, it's just like you've been working it this whole time. And now I'm coming up to the first stitch marker. So I will show you what I will do into it. Essentially, I've got one more space to go before the stitch marker. So into there, I'm going to do 2 double crochets. You can go ahead and remove it so it doesn't get in the way. And into my next gap, then I'm going to do 2 double crochets into the same space. So here is 1 and my second one into that same space for an increase. And so that's my first increase. Now just 1 double crochet into the gap until I get to the next stitch, which is where, or the stitch marker, sorry, which is where I'm going to do another increase. And so on until you get to the end of the row, and I will see you when I'm there. Okay, so I'm almost at the end of the increase row here. And I didn't remove the other stitch markers just so I could show you. I kind of just worked around them. So that is my last double crochet there. And so in each of the gaps that I have a stitch marker, there is 2 double crochets for an increase. Same here. Same here. I think I've got one more, and same here. But then every other stitch, it's just 1 into each of the gaps. So this is essentially your increase row. Now for the next row, you just want to do a regular row of wide double crochets, starting with your chain 3 and flipping your work. Now you're just going to do a wide double crochet into each of the stitches, and when you see an increase, you're going to go in the gap between the increases. So I'll show you with this one. That's the closest one to me. So I've got just a regular wide double crochet to go. And now here's my first increase. So I got to go in the space between those two, because otherwise you're kind of just skipping the increase. So you see an increase here, go into that gap as well and do a double crochet. So you want to repeat this all the way until the end of the row. So continue doing this, making sure that you do a double crochet in between the space of the increases as well. And I will see you at the end of this row. So this is the end of my row 13, which is the row after, for me personally, the row after the increase row. And so now you want to repeat row 13 by doing just one double crochet or wide double crochet into each of the stitches up until your piece measures 6 inches. It's important to measure the piece against your body as you go. So I actually realize now that I need more increases at the 5-inch mark. So rather than doing 6 inches, I've actually done 5. And now I'm going to introduce my next row of increases. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and count the number of gaps I have so that I can do the math on the number of increases that I know I need 5 increases, but just to determine which stitch is the one that I'm going to go into with the increase. So essentially, I'm going to count my gaps in between the double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so I have 103 gaps. And what that means is that I'm going to divide 103 by 5. 103, sorry, I'm doing my calculator here. 103 by 5 gives me 20.6. So it's not going to be perfect, but essentially every 20 stitches or 20 gaps, I'm going to do in an increase. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 20. On the 20th one, I'm going to insert a stitch marker and then repeat this starting at the stitch marker. So the next one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20. And I'm going to do this until the end of the row, and I'll tell you how many stitches I have or gaps I have left. So this is my very last one here. And I've got I have 3 gaps left, which is totally fine. So now I've got my stitch markers of where I need to do my row of increases. So I'm going to do it the same way that I did my previous row of increases. Anytime I see a stitch marker, I'm going to, rather than just do 1 double crochet into there, I'm going to do 2 double crochets into the same spot. And so let's do that. Okay, so I am coming across the first stitch marker here soon. So let's see. I'm getting close to my first stitch marker. And so I'll show you just to triple check that my next gap has a stitch marker. Into that gap, rather than doing just 1 double crochet, I'm going to do 2 for an increase. And then back to 1 for the normal stitches. And then when I see my next stitch marker, an increase. And so you'll do that until the end of the row, and I will see you when we're there. So I just finished my row 16, which is my second row of increases. And so now essentially you just want to do the next few rows in the same just way that you've done the past. So just 1 double crochet in the gaps all the way to the end of the row. And I'm going to measure again when mine measures maybe 6 to 7 inches and see if it's wide enough or if I need to do 1 more row of increases. For now, I'm working row 17, just regular double crochets in between the gaps. My piece measures around 7 inches right now, and I just finished row 20. So I figured I measured against my body, and now I need to do my next row of increases. And so I'm going to count the gaps. I'm going to do the same process again that you should know by now how to do. And so I'm going to count the gaps that I have. And then use that number to divide it by 5 to see in which stitch I'm going to do my increases. So that is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So let's use our handy dandy calculator here, and 108 divided by 5 is going to be 21.6. So every 21st stitch, I'm going to put my stitch markers and do an increase there. So I count the gaps once again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So repeat that and I'll see you later. Let's finish my 21st row, and it is my 3rd row of increases. So I just finished my 21st row and it's my 3rd row of increases. And now I'm going to do a few rows of just regular wide double crochets and measure it against my body to see when the next increase needs to happen, and I will keep you posted. Currently, my piece measures around 7 inches, 7 and a little bit. And in centimeters, that's going to be like 18.5 centimeters. So I'm just going to work maybe 2 or 3 rows of regular double crochets, and I will let you know when I do my next increase row. I just finished row 24, and this is where I'm gonna, so technically row 25 is gonna be my last row of increases. So I'm very excited about that. Essentially, after doing the last row of increases, I did, let me see, row of increases was row 21. So I did 3 more rows of just regular rows. And now I'm gonna do the same process to add my very last row of increases. And I'm going to count the gaps one more time, then divide those by 5 to see in which stitch I need to put in my increases. So 113 divided by 5, that gives me 22.6. So every 22nd stitch, I'm going to be adding my increases. So I undid this by accident, pulling my work. So let me just finish that row once again. And now every 22nd gap, I will add a stitch marker. So let me just do one with you together. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 22. So the 22nd gap, I will be putting a stitch marker, and now I'm going to start again at 1 on the next gap and count 22. Stitch marker, 22, stitch marker, 22, stitch marker to identify the gaps into which I have to do an increase. So the row I'm about to do is row 25, and it is my last row of increases. After that, row 26 and onwards, you're just going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch, and you want to keep going until you have the desired length of the skirt. Mine's not going to be too long. But I will show you the final dimensions once I have them. It's a new day and I am excited because I finished. Well, actually what happens is that I run out of yarn and I don't want to wait because I'm impatient. And so now it's a little shorter than I want it to be, but it works. And so once I block it, I think it's going to expand just a little bit. This is what my piece is looking like. How cute. How cute. So I'm going to add the lining now and the straps on the side, and I will show you how to do this. I'm going to start with the bottom right corner of the skirt. So to add my lining, essentially, I'm going to try and show you here. This is the top of my skirt, and then this is the bottom. So the way that I'm going to work it is I'm going to start at the bottom right corner. Starting with a slip knot, we are going to add the new color to the bottom right corner of the skirt. So we attach there. And as you can see, I'm going around the double crochet. I'm not going into the actual stitches, but I'm going around the pillar. So I'm going to do a chain 1 to secure it. And now essentially I'm going to do 1 single crochet into each of the pillars of the double crochets. So we're not going to count this one. This was just the attachment. So in this corner, I'm going to do 1 single crochet. I'm going to go to the next row and around the pillar of the double crochet. So going around it, I'm going to grab my yarn and do 1 single crochet. Now to the next row, do the same. Go around the pillar of the double crochet and do a single crochet. And that's what we're going to do in each one of the rows. I'm only doing 1, so it kind of cinches it in and makes it nice and tight. I tried doing 2 in each before and it was just like too bulky. So personally, I like the look of just 1 single crochet. If there's a different lining that you know I would like to add, go crazy. The world is your oyster. For me, I just wanted a simple little lining, and so it's going to be just single crochets all the way around. And so I'll see you when you're at the next corner, which is going to be the top right corner of your skirt. So I have finished my one side here with single crochets around each of the pillars of the double crochets of the row of the side. And I am at the top right corner of my skirt. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add this string that I'll use to close off the skirt on the one side. And so I'm going to chain a chain long enough that I know I can wrap it around and do like a little bow tie. I have not counted how many this needs to be, but I'll just show you how, like, the length of the final chain that I have. I'm not going to give you a number of chains. I'm just going to give you the length. I think this is long enough. But essentially the test I'm doing is if it measures this long, once I tie it, I grab it and I make like a little bow tie. How much hanging do I have? And that's the right amount. I kind of wanted to go all the way to the bottom of the skirt. Okay, so my chain measures 16 inches. That's personally the length that I want. If you want it longer or shorter, go ahead. And once you're at the right length of the chain that you want, you're going to go back with slip stitches because this is going to give you a thicker strap, and it's going to get you back to the body of the skirt. So essentially you want to skip the first chain, which remember the loop on your hook doesn't count. So that first chain you're going to skip into the second one. You're going to go into it and grab the yarn and pull it through and just do a slip stitch. And you're going to do this into each one of the chains. So you go into the chain, grab the yarn and pull it through and pull through entirely. Again, push your hook, grab the yarn, pull it through and pull through the next loop as well. I'm going to do a few more times to show you what this looks like. Essentially, you're creating this like rope that's a little thicker and more sturdy than just a chain. So it's going to be nicer. And so you do this until you're back to the body of the skirt, and I will see you when we're there. So I have done a slip stitch into each of the chains, and now I'm back to the body of the skirt, and I'm going to connect it back to this same double crochet that I'm in. I'm just going to do a single crochet there to connect that. And I'm going to do, since you're at the corner, I'm going to do one more just to kind of come around to the top of the skirt now. So this particular top right double crochet for me has 3 single crochets to come around. So the first one, then I worked the chain, then I came back, then I connected the chain with a single crochet, and then I did one more so that I can come around to the top for the corner. And now essentially you're just going to work 1 single crochet. I'm going to go in between the double crochets to kind of keep that wide stitch look. So I'm going to go in between the double crochets and just do 1 single crochet between each, all the way to the next corner of the stitch, which will be on the other side. So I'm at the other corner of the lining. So I'm basically at the top left corner. So I'm in the back of the skirt. And I'm going to work an amount of chains that also measures 16 inches. And then I'm going to come back with it with slip stitches. So I've done my other string here. And now it's time to attach to the body again, and I'm going to do that with a single crochet around the pillar of the double crochet. And I'm going to do one more just because this is a corner. And now I'm just going to do 1 single crochet around the pillar of the double crochet at the very edge to match the other side. Oh, and I'll see you when we're at the next corner here. Okay, and so I'm at the corner here, and so I'm going to do my final single crochet into the body of the pillar. I'm also going to do one more there. So this one's going to get 2 to bring us to the other side, and a third one just to finish that corner. And so essentially you're doing 3 into the same spot. And now you should be ready to work the bottom. And I'm going to do 1 single crochet in between each of the gaps until I get to the other side, and I will be done with this. You can cut your yarn afterwards and just thread your ends through, and you will have a really cute beach cover-up skirt.